Be me, college student, planning to go on a backpacking trip with a friend in Appalachia. Let's call him Nick. Planned trip is only a 2-day, 18-mile hike. No big deal. Close to Christmas time, so we aren't expecting the trail to be busy on the stretch we are looking at. First night, we are staying in a hostel. Second night, we will be camping in tents at a campground. Our plans seem pretty bulletproof. Packed my Ruger Wrangler in case we ran into some rabbits to cook. The stretch of the trail we planned on hiking was pretty rocky, so we made sure to have extra first aid supplies just in case one of us sprained an ankle. Fast forward to Friday night. Drive up. We get to the dirt lot outside of the stretch of the trail. It is around 8 p.m., so already dark, but the hostel that we will be sleeping in for the night is only around 1 mile out. Get there at around 8:30. Took us around 10 minutes to get our stuff out of my car. Only people there, so we don't have to worry about being quiet. Shut the door behind us. Rev up our camp stoves to make some tasty, freeze-dried spaghetti. Yum. Head to bed at 10 p.m., as we will need the rest for tomorrow's hike. Hostels on this stretch of the trail are basically cabins. They have steel doors, and this particular one had a skylight. To add to this, sleeping arrangements were wooden bunks, around 8 total in this hostel. There were 2 wooden tables for eating at, nailed to the floor in the center of the room. We chose to sleep in the bunk directly across from the door, with me on the bottom bunk and Nick on the top. Wake up suddenly, still kinda half asleep. Check watch. 2:14 a.m. Skylight is covered, must have snowed. Snow wasn't on the forecast, kinda odd, but whatever. It's December in the Northeast, not that out of the question. About to go to sleep when I hear a light tapping on the steel door to the shelter. At first, think that it must be a hiker showing up late. Get up to open the door for them when I stop myself. Why the fuck would someone decide to hike on a notoriously rocky section at midnight? Decide that it's just an animal, go back in my sleeping bag and head back to sleep. Around 20 minutes later, I wake up again to door sounds. This time, someone knocking instead of tapping. Consider shitting my pants, but manage not to. See that Nick is already up, shining his flashlight at the door. Dude, what the fuck is happening? I ask. You think someone is trying to get in? He spits back. No shit. Whatever the hell was knocking on the door, we were not letting them in. If it was a person, they would just have to set up their tent and sleep outside for the night. Knocking continues for around 10 more minutes until it finally stops. Guess the idiot finally took a hint, I whisper. Nick chuckles, but then we hear what sounds like a man crying on the other side of the door. Not a kid, but like a 60-year-old man. We both freeze, completely in fight or flight mode. Maybe it's just an animal, except I don't know what fucking animal sounds like a crying old dude. Snap out of it and decide to draw my Ruger, but feel that whatever the hell is making that noise won't give a shit about being shot with a .22. Noise starts to get higher, off the ground that is, until suddenly it seems like the source is on the roof. Slowly look at the snow-covered skylight. Clearly see boot prints just in the center of it. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Pull out satellite phone, since we aren't morons and packed one just in case. Dial 911. Tell them where we are and that there is a crying geriatric on the hostel we are in. 911 operator sounds like she is trying to hold back a laugh, but tells us an officer is heading over to check it out. Suddenly feel a bit of relief. 45 minutes later, old dude still crying on the skylight. We see a red and blue strobe reflect off the snow. Finally, he is here. Crying from old dude stops. Boot print still at the same spot on the skylight. Me and Nick quickly put on our shirts and get up to meet him. He knocks on the door. Received a report of an old man crying on the roof. Yeah, that's us. We'll be there in a second. Put down my Ruger because I'd rather not have the cop get the wrong idea, even if I don't think I look suspicious at all. Let him in and tell him what the fuck has been happening for the past 2+ hours at this point. Show him the boot prints on the roof. He still seems to not quite be buying it, but he says he'll do a perimeter check of the hostel to see if he can find any prints or personal items of someone who could be messing with us. Goes back out the door, closes it behind him. In the meantime, Nick and I set up a lantern and decide to sit at one of the tables and wait. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes go by. Wonder what the fuck is taking so long. Decide to check over at the skylight and notice that now there are 2 sets of boot prints instead of just 1. We end up staying awake until sunrise, until finally gathering the courage to go outside and see what the fuck was happening. Cop car is gone. No sign of the officer. Dude just bailed on us. What an asshole, Nick says. Consider calling 911 and complaining, when Nick gets a genius idea. There is a tree overhanging the roof, so he wants to go and climb it and go up on the roof to check out the boot prints. Tell him it's a mega stupid plan, and that we should just head back to my car and scrap the trip. He is adamant on doing it. Fine, but try and get a picture of the prints, I concede. Eat my breakfast grits while waiting for him to get down. He doesn't. No noise coming from the roof. Oh fuck, whatever was up there must have got him. Decide to climb the roof myself. When I reach the top, find nothing except Nick's phone right next to the boot prints. Yell out for him on the roof, assuming he should be close and able to hear me. No reply. Pick up phone and check his pictures. Took around 5. Click on first one. Picture of the roof, nothing on it, seems normal. Second one. Picture of the sun. Third one. Picture of a black work boot sitting on the roof. Fourth one. Super close-up picture of the snow. Assumed he dropped the phone at this point. Fifth one. Picture of me eating my grits next to the hostel. Without thinking, immediately get off of the roof and run back to my car. Fuck packing my shit or finding Nick. I'll file a missing persons report. Drive to the nearest town and call the local PD. Hi, I need to file a missing persons report. Me and my friend were sleeping overnight at a hostel on the Appalachian Trail, and he went missing in the morning while looking for something on the roof. Also, you guys sent an officer over here, and he left without doing anything. We are aware. He had an emergency he needed to attend to. Answers a man who sounds oddly familiar. Hey, wait a fucking second. You're the asshole that... Hangs up. No idea if they even filed a report. Decide to look around the hostel myself, just to at least get our stuff, and see if I can find any footprints that could be his. This time, bring my Mauser I have in the trunk of my car, just to have more of a fighting chance against whatever was on the roof. Park in the lot again. Walk until I can see the hostel. See what looks like a torn shirt on the stairs to the door. Exact shirt Nick wore the night before. Feel an immense wave of dread dawn on me. Know for certain that he is not going to be found, if they will even try searching for him. Go back to my car, feeling defeated. No idea what I'm going to do, or what the thing was that most likely killed my friend, or why the police refused to take me or the situation seriously. Not a trucker, but am friends with a lot, and used to work a lot with truck drivers. B 2014, working for a lumberyard. Monday morning hung the fuck over, and helping load staircases into a box truck for delivery to another branch of the lumberyard. Truck drivers are 2 guys I normally see, both in their 30s. One is ex-Marine. Both are hardcore bikers, both decent guys. Was talking about how our weekends were. Truck drivers tell me they didn't get home until after midnight the previous Friday. Naturally, I asked why. Said they had a load of lumber to drop in Paw Paw WV from Ranson before they could leave. Lumber needed to be dropped by Saturday morning. They had a long busy day and were held up in traffic, so weren't able to leave for the last drop until almost 7. Get to Paw Paw and have to take a rough gravel road to the drop point for shed being built. Paw Paw is a pretty small town. Truckers said every house they passed, people were standing outside, just staring at the truck as it drove past. Said it was eerie as fuck having everyone just stare at them. Just brush it off and get to the drop point and unload their shit. Drive back into town and stop at gas station for food. Come out and notice a car parked beside their truck. Guy inside the car was just staring at them while they walked to the truck. Before they get in, the guy gets out and walks towards them, a pint of Jim Beam in hand. Tells them they had better not take the road they came in on. Not tonight, since there had been an accident and the road is blocked off. They are getting in the truck when he says that there has been an awful lot of disappearances lately and to keep their doors locked. Ask what other road he thinks they should take, already thinking he's just a drunk. He tells them to take a back road. Drivers look it up on their GPS and see that it's pretty windy and unpaved. Not too keen on it, but it is the fastest way. Leave and see the guy swigging out of his bottle. On the gravel road, driving through the woods, already 10 p.m. Pick up the pace a little when something really slams into the passenger door. What the fuck was that? Stops truck, thinking it was a deer. Guy on passenger side is about to open his door to look. Again, something rams into the door. Passenger backs away from door and locks it. Go, go, go. Driver shifts into gear, and just as they are about to pull away, passenger looks out and sees a hairy, humanoid thing looking back at him from about 5 feet away. Thing charges at the truck again. Driver stomps on the gas and flies away. They both look in the rearview and can see some tall, dark figure standing in the road behind them, just watching them. Arrive back in the lumberyard. Passenger door has a huge dent in it, and it doesn't open too easily. No one else there, so leave the truck and go home. Monday morning, the manager asks what happened to the truck. Both guys figure manager won't believe them, so they tell him a deer ran into them on Friday night. Manager believes them and says to take another truck. He'll send this one to get repaired. They both tell me they knew what they saw, and it was not a person. Both said they refused to ever go back to Paw Paw again. They tell me to be careful if I ever have to go there, since I would occasionally run small pickup truckloads to lumber to drop sites. They proceed to say, believe it or not, but there is something out there, and it is not friendly. 2 weeks go by. Haven't seen either trucker. Asked my manager about it. He tells me that they quit after refusing to do another delivery in Paw Paw and were declined when they asked for another run instead. I have a second-hand story. One of my professors shared it with the class. He's a molecular biologist from Spain, so very skeptical of ghosts. But he said when he was a kid, he and his father stayed at a house that was kind of haunted. It's not that spooky, but it's a cute story. The gist is this. Professor's dad is in university at the time, studying to become an architect. They're renting a cheap room from this old lady who lives alone. The bed has a single bed, which Professor and his dad have to share. On the first night, the old lady warns Professor's dad to place the mattress on the floor because she is worried about the professor, who was only a wee lad at the time, falling off the bed. Professor's dad just thinks the old lady is being overprotective and tells her it will be fine. That night, the two of them wake up to the bed shaking violently. They are used to earthquakes and assume that's what it is, but then they realize it's the bed. They jump out of the bed and it immediately stops shaking. Professor's dad decides to pull the mattress onto the floor like the old lady said, and the two of them never experience anything bizarre like that again. Various things like this happen over a long period of time. Odd little things. I'll just share one more. When the woman is going to visit Hawaii one day, she tells Professor's dad to not have any guests and not to ever turn the music on too loud, which Professor's dad promptly ignores by having a barbecue and inviting a friend of his. They are listening to the stereo loudly when it just shuts off for no reason. It's plugged in and the electricity is working. They're like, what the hell is wrong with this piece of junk? Then they see that the volume has just been turned all the way down. Anytime they turn the music back up, the same thing happens, very quickly, making it seem like the stereo shut off. They decide to just leave the music off. So, anyway, after a ton of stuff like this, the professor's dad finds a blueprint one day. Remember, he is working to become an architect, so he's actually working on a blueprint himself for a project. But somehow, it gets lost, and he winds up looking all over the house for it. He ends up looking in this coat closet, where he sees a ton of suits, and there, rolled up, is a blueprint. He pulls it out, and it's not his blueprint, but he decides at this point, fuck it, I'm going to use this for my project. The old woman comes out, as he's working, and says, "Did I hear you rummaging around in that closet?" and Professor's dad says, "Yes, I was looking for my blueprint, and I found this." She says, "My husband was an architect, and that's the blueprint for this house. He built it for me. He died 15 years ago." So, by this point, a ton of minor shit has happened, from hearing footsteps in the hall, to hearing voices, to his son, my professor, claiming multiple times to have seen a man in his room. So he puts two and two together. Oh shit, I wonder if the old man's ghost is watching over this house. So later, Professor's dad is visiting his brother, who is a Catholic priest, and he mentions how he used to have to cleanse houses back in Spain, but he only ever did it under the guidance of someone with more experience. Professor's dad gets the idea. Hey, you should try to cleanse this house I'm renting a room in. There might be an old man's spirit in there. The old lady is in Hawaii again, so she is not there to protest. So the brother priest comes over and cleanses the house, performing the ritual as best as he can recall. The fucked up thing is that just before this, Professor's dad had found a new place to rent, and he was supposed to be moving out, and his move out date coincided with the return of the old lady's trip from Hawaii, and as soon as she pulled up to the house, she sensed something was wrong. She stood there, staring at the house, looking confused. She glanced at Professor's dad kinda strangely, and then went inside. By this point, Professor and his dad have packed all their shit into their car, and they are preparing to leave. Professor's dad is about to head inside to say goodbye to the old woman one last time and thank her for her hospitality. But then they both hear her screaming from inside the house. "No, what have you done? What have you done?" Both of them get spooked, and then they hear the old lady scream, "He's gone. He's gone." Professor's dad thinks, "Oops," and the two of them hop back into the car and drive away, never to revisit that house or see the old lady again. That's all. Nothing too special, but my old house has had tons of weird events. Be me, about 10 years old. Family just moved into a renovated 110-year-old house. Belonged to the family, but was basically abandoned for 40 years before my parents fixed it up. New to me house, so I'm scared to sleep alone. My 15-year-old sister has always been sensitive, and she is a bit scared too. She volunteers to sleep in my room with me for a few months until we get used to the house. About my sister, she previously had seen weird phenomena such as a ghost hand wearing a ring appearing under my parents' bed. She heard demonic sounding voices telling her that they would destroy our family. She heard the voice of a little girl at the foot of her bed. I have no younger sisters. Hear lots of odd noises, but could easily discount them as the house settling, etc. We would turn on the attic fan when the temperature allows, because we have no air conditioner in our room, and the noise covers up the sounds at night. One night, I am awoken suddenly out of a deep sleep by my sister screaming and crying. Apparently, something was sitting on her. She said she was not paralyzed because she tried to push it off, but she does not want it to fall on me. One side of the bed was against the wall, so she tries to push it over me to the floor. We turn on the light. Of course, there's nothing there, and my dad comes in and desperately tries to come up with an excuse to explain it that will comfort us. Doesn't work. We sleep on the floor of our parents' room. This happened several times. Something freaky would happen, and we go sleep in my parents' floor at like 3 a.m. Fast forward to a few years later. Be me, 12 or 13. One night, there is a random power outage. Whole neighborhood, as far as we can see. My mom scrambles in the pitch black to find the candles and oil lantern. Suddenly, both of my sisters start freaking out. They claim that they can see blacker than black shadows of bats, cats, and other animals around the house. The shadow creatures became a recurring thing. We had no pets of any kind in the house, and the shadows were often of non-animal shapes anyway. My mom saw shadow men multiple times, even described the Hat Man trope, despite never having heard of it before. Fast forward to my teenage years. Be me, 16. Anything witchy, strictly forbidden in our house. Parents had even banned Zelda on NES when we were younger because of magic. Nevertheless, I am fascinated by paranormal stuff, and stay up late reading all about ghosts, UFOs, conspiracies, the usual stuff that was talked about on Above Top Secret in 2004. Despite this, and being awake alone most nights, I rarely experience anything I can't explain away pretty easily. Become a bit of a skeptic, just to make myself less uneasy, despite consuming all of this paranormal content. My oldest sister is married and has moved out by this time. We are preparing to go on a family vacation, so she and my brother-in-law are sleeping in the living room, brother-in-law on the floor in front of the sofa. I'm sitting at the computer in the next room, not reading anything spooky or X-related that I recall. My brother-in-law appears at the peripheral of my vision. Kinda freaks me out because I was not expecting it. He's giving me a weird look, asks me if I'm okay. I say sure and ask what's up. He says he wakes up staring at the ceiling and sees a flash of bright white light which glides along the top of the ceiling and floats over my head in my chair. Kinda freaked, but skeptical me thinks maybe he dreamed it or something. Over the next few years, 3 different people independently report a similar phenomenon while sleeping on or in front of the sofa. Dad wakes up with a bright white light over top of him, jumps up, and yells loud enough to wake the whole house. Sister wakes up, sees the bright white light jump into her chest, and she jumps up crying while trying to brush off whatever it was, thinking it was still on her. 2006, worried about Tropical Storm Ernesto. Sister's family is worried about flooding near her house, so she comes to stay with us. During the power outage that night, 2 of my nephews, again, sleeping on the floor in front of the sofa, claim to see more blacker than black shadows of people walking around the house while everyone is asleep. Again, 2006-ish, about 2 a.m. I'm on the computer listening to some music when I hear a horrendous crash come from the kitchen. Frozen, I wait and listen for a solid 10 to 15 minutes, but I don't hear anything else. Steel myself and walk into the kitchen, wielding a coffee mug like I'm about to fight a dragon. The telephone has been ripped off of the wall and is laying in the middle of the floor 5 or 6 feet away. Phone has been there for 10 plus years, has never been loose to our knowledge. Had switched to a wireless phone a few years before anyway, so it was rarely used. The mount is completely broken. Freaking the fuck out, go to my room and hug my .22 LR rifle with the lights on until my dad gets up at 5:30 a.m. That house is weird. I still hear weird noises when I'm there, but I usually just discount them as the house settling or boards creaking just from age. Periodically, I'll hear a single light knock at the door at all times of the day. Obviously, nothing or no one is there when we check. Still happens multiple times a day and with multiple witnesses. My grandfather used to tease me by telling me that my great-great-grandfather had hung himself in my bedroom closet. Of course, he was just messing with me, as they did not even live in that house when he died. Still, once in a rare while, the mood of that house shifts on a dime, so to speak, and it's like it comes alive with odd noises and corner-of-the-eye kind of stuff for no apparent reason. I want to share a funny one, if that's okay. It was one of those I was the spook stories. In 5th grade, friend and I are super into scary stories to tell in the dark. We decided it would be funny to come up with our own ghost story and freak everyone out, so we make up a story about the school bathroom being haunted. In my school, the 5th grade bathroom was the only bathroom that was all alone by itself. We'd ask the teacher to go, then come back and lie to the other boys about having seen a ghost. I told them I heard a disembodied voice. My friend, he felt someone touch him. Then we elaborate the story and say that the previous year, some kid had done the Bloody Mary ritual in the school bathroom and gone missing. Supposedly, Bloody Mary snatched him and pulled him into the mirror, and now he is trapped there. So, it was all just all of this fake lore that we made up, but the other kids start believing it because we kept insisting that it's all real. Pretty soon, other kids are coming back from bathroom breaks, shaken up, claiming to have heard voices in there. Everybody's got their own story. Then shit starts hitting the fan. People start getting too scared to use the bathroom alone. One kid gets caught pissing in the coat closet to avoid going by himself. Another kid shits his pants, trying to hold it until recess. Shit like this is happening in every 5th grade class. Teachers get us all together one day and demand to know who started the rumor about the haunted bathroom. Nobody can even remember that it was all me and my friend, because they've all been making up their own stories by this point. A Jehovah's Witnesses kid gets pulled out of school because his parents think something demonic is happening at the school. Bathroom mirrors are found shattered one day. Some kid apparently went in and broke them all. Thought it would get Bloody Mary and the missing kid to leave us all alone. School had to pay to get it all repaired. Many cacks. I've got one more story that I can currently remember. Not at my house, but at my cousin's house. He lives right next to a huge creek. Hispanics, so lots of don't go out into the creek because of La Llorona, a lady that drowns kids. I was currently dealing with a little dick kid back home, so I wasn't really scared, but my cousin, who was slightly older than me, was scared shitless. His older siblings did not help either. His room has its own restroom, but it's right next to his closet. His older siblings tell them that monsters hide in the closet, so he avoids that restroom at all costs. I'm sleeping over. I ain't afraid, so I just chill. He wakes me up in the middle of the night. Don't remember what time, I just wanted to go back to sleep. Cousin asked me to accompany him to go pee. The fuck are you talking about? Your restroom is right there. He's too scared, so he asks if I can go with him to the backyard, and he will pee out there. Yeah, sure, whatever. Door to the backyard is right down the hallway for his room, so it's no biggie. We go outside, and he starts peeing. Moon completely lights up the night. I'm looking around the backyard, since I did not want to stare at my peeing cousin. Admire the treehouse. I always wanted one. I notice something bright towards the top of the tree. On my life, I see a doll with a flowing white dress floating about 3 feet over the tree. Got chills just remembering. The dress was almost transparent, and the doll was glowing the same color as the moon. Cousin, what's that? He looks up and starts sprinting towards the door. He's not even done peeing. He is running and leaking at the same time. I'm closer to the door, so I'm in first. We both make it to his bed and just hide under the blankets until we fall asleep. Next morning, his mom beat his ass for pissing himself all the way down the hallway. Never talked about it again. I still don't know what that was. Ask any US Marine about the shadow people of 29 Palms. If they've been out there, there is a good chance that they have seen them. There's a lot of weird stories and sightings from that desert hellhole, but the shadow men people are the most common I've heard. On fire watch at about 3 a.m. First Mardiv got rowdy and drunk a couple nights prior, so now we need to post a fire watch to make sure these idiots don't try to steal shit or fuck with our guys. See a figure dart between 2 of our cans. Yell, who's there? Get no reply. Come out, fucker, I saw you. See a silhouette step out from behind the can and just stand there. What the fuck are you doing? Corporal walks out of the can behind me and asks who I'm yelling at. Turn around and say, some idiot over there, Corporal. Turn back and see silhouette gone. Corporal tells me to go check behind the can. Find nothing. He says it's probably a shadow person and tells me to just leave them alone. Says in his culture, Creole, it's bad luck to interact with them or look at them for too long. Tells me to check off about 15 minutes early and get some sleep. High school, senior year. GF of 2 years cheats on me. Hurts bad. Decide to end it all. Family has no guns, and I have none myself. Take a rope and head into the woods. Long story short, I hang myself. I remember the world going dark. Then nothing. Then waking up. Shaking like fucking crazy. Early February in Vermont. Not sure how long it's been, but I'm lying on the ground with the rope beside me. It somehow came untied, which seems weird. Fuck, it's freezing. Decide not to try again tonight. My warm, cozy bed is calling me. Head home. Drift off to sleep. Have a weird dream. My uncle who recently died is in it. He was one of the only people who ever looked out for me. Without getting too much into it, my parents aren't exactly the best people. Uncle kinda helped raise me. One of the only people in my family I actually liked. He died last year. In my dream, I'm a kid again. We're chilling on Uncle's porch. We used to do that a lot, and Uncle would tell me stories. This time, we are just sitting there, staring at the woods. He finally turns to me and says one thing. You owe me one. Wake up. It's the next morning. The dream is still vivid in my mind. Feels super heavy. Decide to man up and get over my shit. Decide to make Uncle proud. Start to lift. Pick up some of our hobbies. Dedicate myself to school too. Graduate and work my way through school. Just got my bachelor's degree this spring. Starting a master's program soon. Not sure if my failed suicide and the dream were a coincidence, but it didn't feel like it. Thanks, Uncle Tim. I miss you.